All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Paul Harrell program. Today on the show, this Saturday, history will be made in my home state of Arkansas. For years, the University of Arkansas has refused to play Arkansas State University on the football field. That all changes in a few days as the game many thought would never happen is about to become a reality. We're going to talk about that. Plus, Jeffrey Epstein is back in the news. Has Congress heard testimony from his victims? One thing is true. One thing is certain. This story isn't going away regardless of how many powerful people want it to go away. It's not. The Paul Harrell program starts right now. I mean, right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, folks. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Rob Spencer is with us. Rob, great to have you back, as always.
Paul, it's great to be back after a little bit of a hiatus. So we had a long weekend, and then we had some issues pop up yesterday. So we are back on the air today during this historic week in Arkansas. And those outside of Arkansas may not really care about this, but we're going to talk about it. And we're also going to be talking about, you know, the news of the day, the Epstein stuff that will not go away, and apparently Trump died this weekend. Yes,
I saw that.
I've seen so many videos from the liberal lunatics who were just like, I've received information from a confidential source and all this stuff, and you're just like, okay, no, you didn't.
No, they thought they were about to have a party.
Oh yeah.
There's a leftist TikToker here locally in the state that I've been following some of her stuff. And they really thought he was dead.
Oh, they thought it was. So they thought he was either dead or that he was on his deathbed, and that J.D. Vance was about to assume that. And I want to say, like, you're cheering Trump being gone, but you're back. I mean, next up is J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
Are you sure that that's something you want to?
Yeah.
You want to trade?
What's funny is I'll take that conspiracy theory and I will tell you another one that I heard. And again, I have no idea, but obviously Trump did interviews. You know, he said yesterday in the press conference, "Hey, I did interviews."
Yeah.
And I was on the golf course. But there's some people out there that think that, you know, him being missing was him actually having like a secret meeting with Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. Which again, there's no evidence for that. I'm just telling you,
I would love for that to be true.
The internet comes up with everything, you know.
Yeah, so. It just blows my mind because, I mean, people are going to believe all this stuff. You know, I keep seeing this meme that's fantastic, and it's 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, all with Trump's picture. And then it has the next 8 years of pictures, and it's J.D. Vance. And it keeps saying, you are here in 2025. Like, you need to get over it because for the next 12 years. Now, I would love for that to be the case. I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Right.
You know, realistically, it's all going to depend on the economy in 4 years. If if the economy is doing well, then, or a little over 3 years, I guess, from now, from when you actually have the elections. If the economy is doing well, then J.D. Vance is going to win in a landslide. And if it's not, well, listen, what's interesting is if all of this stuff that goes through with the changing of basically our federal elections here, if Trump gets accomplished what he's trying to get accomplished, and that is, hey, you can do whatever the heck you want to do in these local elections, but if you're casting a vote in the federal elections, you have to prove that you're a citizen. You have to have ID. We want to do same-day voting. I like actually early voting. I'm fine with that, but I only vote in person, and I would assume you do as well. Like, you know, Republicans are not mail-in voters, you know, for the most part. But it's going to be interesting to see if that were to go through, how long the Republicans would hold power.
Yeah.
Because I truly, 100%, you could not tell me anything other than this. Illegal immigrants are voting in our elections.
Yep.
People who are not allowed to vote are voting in our elections.
And I think have been for decades.
Yeah. Gavin Newsom said the quiet part out loud. You think Trump's not going to send ICE to intimidate voters at polling locations? What voters?
Yeah.
If you saw ICE at your polling location, Paul, are you going to be intimidated?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not. You're not.
Oh, I'm not.
You're not going to be.
I'm sorry. If I was an illegal alien, I was
Sure.
sorry. I was
Yeah, I'm talking about Paul Harrell. Yeah. You're not going to be intimidated.
No, I'm not. I promise. Right. I'm here legally, folks.
You are a legal person. You're a citizen of this United States, right? And so you are legally allowed to vote. So am I, and I'm not going to be intimidated by ICE, nor would any other citizen.
Yeah.
So who are you worried about him intimidating, Gavin Newsom? Oh, wait a minute. You said they don't vote.
Yeah.
You don't vote. So anyway, so it's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see all of that stuff. It goes all the way around back to say that, look, you lost the election. Elections have consequences. You lost. You lost fair and square. Really, it wasn't fair because we would understand that popular vote is skewed because Kamala Harris did not get as many votes as she did legally. We know that because, of what I just said. But anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of years. I think the Republicans have to realize that they are on a short-term, must do everything you can to save the country.
Yeah.
Before November of 2026.
I totally agree with that, and that's why this Epstein story is not going to go away.
It's not.
I want to give a shout-out to our sponsors. We've got Sherrod Chiropractic. Really appreciate his practice.
He's the best in the business
really
if you're local here in Arkansas.
If you're local, yeah. I mean, if you need your back cracked, and much, much more, it's much more complicated than that, but we really appreciate Dr. Jason Sherrod. Also, Gateway Sight and Sound, our newest sponsor. We really appreciate them. Shout out to them, and we'll be giving you more details, throughout the week about what they do. But basically, any of your audiovisual needs for the home or corporate functions, church functions, they've got that covered. And then, of course, New Horizon Real Estate, Rob.
Yes.
Which is your company.
Well,
we appreciate them.
know a person there.
Yeah, know a few people there. And also Red Vive Health. Make sure you go to redvivehealth.org/Paul for life-enhancing red light panels, clinical strength that you can get in your home.
Well, Paul, we need to say quickly about our sponsors. The views expressed on this show do not necessarily represent the ideas of our sponsors, such as, there are people at New Horizon Real Estate who don't agree with this, and that's totally fine. That's what makes America great, right?
Amen. Yeah.
Even though Rebecca Lobo said that during a WNBA game and had to apologize
I remember
for saying that. She was like,
crazy.
We're allowed to disagree. That's what makes America great. And she's like, I'm sorry for the hurt that I caused. I'm like,
can't even.
Lord have mercy.
Certainly are the speech.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of Patrick Bat David, who is a phenomenal follow on, he was having these debates and everybody was talking about how terrible the United States is. And he's like, all right, well, here's $2,350, which is what it's going to cost you to renounce your citizenship. I will also pay for a first-class ticket to any communist country that you want to go to. You get to pick it, and I will also give you $20,000.
Right.
You just have to tell me where you want to go and when you want to go, and I will do it. He's a multimillionaire, so
right.
he's being legit. And of course, none of them want to leave the country that they're griping and complaining about. Nobody wants to talk about that stuff. No. So. But we are in the state of Arkansas, Paul.
We are. Before we get to the topic at hand, thank you for indulging us. But I do want to say one thing. The state of Arkansas lost a tremendous man, a husband, a father, a state senator, a legislator, a statesman, and Senator Gary Stubblefield. The Arkansas Senate posted this yesterday. The members and staff of the Arkansas Senate mourned the passing of Senator Gary Stubblefield, 74, who died on Tuesday, September 2nd. Senator Stubblefield was elected to the Senate in 2012 after serving 2 terms in the House of Representatives. He represented Senate District 26. What I can say about Gary is really just what I worked with Gary as
you've
a
met him.
member of the media.
Interviewed him.
He was on my show many times. I had so many private conversations, countless private conversations.
Great man.
There were political victories. There were political defeats. And, when I started this in 2009, I don't know if I met him at that time, but if people know me, follow my work, that I can get a little, excited, angry. And I would say looking back, probably didn't realize it now, but Gary Stubblefield, whether it was wins or losses, was consistent and he was steady.
Yeah.
And he taught me, I think he taught me that there's more to life than just political victories. And so this even-keeledness that he approached things with, I think it made him an extremely effective legislator, number one. I don't know. He was also
it makes him more of an anomaly as well, because
Yeah.
what do we see? We see, like, if you disagree with me, or if I lost, if I don't get this amendment into this bill or
Right.
whatever, it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
Right. Communists are going to rule from here, from there, and then it goes to the opposite side as
Yeah.
well. So, steadying forces
Yeah.
seem to be fewer and fewer, far between.
like I was
days.
saying, he was just a light and a consistent one at that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he was one of the most conservative state senators in modern times.
Yeah.
And the work that he did, protecting our families and our children, and the Second Amendment, are going to be felt in this state for generations to come. I can honestly say that because of Gary Stubblefield, my daughter will grow up in a freer Arkansas than she otherwise would have, and he was a big part of that. And so, join me in praying for his family as they mourn his loss. And
Yeah, great man. It's a great loss for the state of Arkansas, and I think that ultimately anybody that's watching this show, even if you're not in Arkansas, it's a great loss for conservatives. And so those we need more people, like the Gary Stubblefields of the world. So continuing on with our Arkansas theme.
All right, so let's just bring this up. All right, so for those of you that don't know, maybe you're watching on Ex-American News and you're not watching specifically,
Sure.
From Arkansas. You're all across the country,
Yeah.
which is great. We appreciate it. But Arkansas is unique in a lot of ways. One of the ways that we're unique as a state is our two largest universities don't play each other in sports, specifically football. This policy was changed about 5 years ago, and this is an anomaly. I mean, if you go to any other state in the union, they don't have this rule against, the colleges.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
play.
like in the state of Alabama, Auburn plays Alabama. In Florida, Florida plays Florida State.
and Miami.
Right? I mean, you're talking about these huge, North Carolina plays NC State. Clemson and South Carolina play each other in South Carolina, right? Like, so football is huge. And state of Arkansas is unique because we don't have any professional teams. So in the state of Arkansas, you're either a Red Wolf fan or you're a Razorback fan. And the majority of the state is Razorback fans.
Yeah, that's correct.
The Red Wolves are like a Northeast Arkansas, which is where we're from. And you and I went to college at Arkansas State, but I grew up being a Razorback fan. And so for years, it was just like, well, you don't want Arkansas to play Arkansas State for the simple fact that Arkansas's got nothing to gain from
This is
playing
the argument,
them,
yeah.
right? And everything to lose.
Yeah.
Right? When you lose to little brother,
That's right.
You lose to little brother.
And so this policy was put into place by University of Arkansas legend Frank Broyles.
Frank Broyles.
He said,
yes.
absolutely not. This is not going to happen. We're not going to allow this.
The only time that they've ever really played in each other in major sports in the last 50, 60, 80 years or whatever was in 1987, I believe, in the NIT.
That's right.
They played, and Frank Broyles almost didn't allow that to happen.
So many things happened. The NIT gets to decide who they get to
Correct.
decide the best matchup. So the NIT comes and says, hey, you're going to play.
Yeah,
you're going to play.
play
At that time, it was Arkansas State Indians, and so they played, and Arkansas State almost won. They lost in like overtime.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, what's funny about the history of that is that was Nolan Richardson who took the Hogs on to a national championship.
Yep.
That was his first year, I believe.
I did not know
could be
that.
wrong. That was his first year.
Yeah.
Had they lost, things might have gone very
would have been a different, yeah.
for the University of Arkansas.
Well, they're playing each other in football this coming Saturday.
Yeah. History is about to be made. This is monumentous. As somebody who grew up in this area, right? And I didn't grow up a Razorback fan. My dad, jokingly said, or somebody jokingly said, "Hey, yeah, you can go to college anywhere you want in Craighead County." Like, this was the mindset.
Because there's
that
only one college.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's like these little
Yeah,
small
right,
little things, but
right.
there's only one
So,
university.
This was like my parents met there, and my whole family's gone here. Like, this is where you're going, and this also is where I lived. I had friends that went off to the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, and that's great. But I was raised. I have since mellowed in a lot of areas. One of those is, the idea of never being able to, even want anything positive at all for the University of Arkansas.
Yep.
I'm not that way now, but I certainly was growing up because my father told me, hey, they won't ever play us. Like we're looked at as the redheaded stepchild and everything else,
Right.
and all these other states. And you can say a lot about, well, there are different levels, right? The Razorbacks are in the SEC, right? One of the reasons, Rob, you probably grew up as a Razorback fan, I'm assuming you watched with your dad.
My dad was not a football fan.
Oh, he wasn't?
He wasn't a sports fan at all. Like, so I came through to sports through my friends.
Okay,
believe it or not.
Well, the point being is Arkansas State has only really recently found football success.
I would say in the late 2000s,
right?
Like
in
2009,
in the modern
2010.
era, in
Sure,
the
sure.
FBS or whatever.
For years, we were just hoping to get to 6-6.
Yeah, right, exactly. And
Arkansas
so
State.
that's a little bit different. Obviously, when they were in the lower division, they had undefeated. Matter of fact, 50 years ago, the team Arkansas State went undefeated. Of course, that would be 50 years ago this year,
right? And wanted to, it was as Division II, as it was called at that time, Division II National Championship.
But so there's always been that where the Hogs can say, "Hey, we have nothing to gain from the game. Plus, you guys aren't even in. You're not even in a conference that's comparable."
Right.
And now, and the same thing is really true now with the SEC. Essentially, the Southeastern Conference is now. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a sports guy, Rob. I'm just talking. But so if I'm wrong, but the SEC is essentially morphing into like a semi-professional league at this point.
It is. So by far, the number of draft picks in the NFL, the majority of them, like per conference, comes out of the SEC. Mm-hmm. So on average, the SEC will have a significantly higher number of draft picks per year that come out of the SEC. So there are really two major football conferences right now. It's the Big Ten and the SEC. And then there's these two subsets at this point. Like they call them Power 4. It used to be Power 5 because the Pac-12, but there's Power 4. The other one is the Big 12 and then the ACC. Okay, so ACC, the big dogs on the block there, your Clemsons, your Florida States, your Miamis, those are your big schools in the ACC. Then in the SEC, you've got Alabama, LSU, Georgia. You've got, these are the prominent, these are the ones that are winning. Auburn on sometimes will creep up there or whatever. Those are the ones that are going to be winning the SEC. And then the Big Ten, you got your Ohio States, your Michigans. And now with the dissolving of the Pac-12, you also have USC, Oregon. They've now joined the Big Ten. So, and then in the Big 12 used to be your Oklahoma and your Texas, but now they're in the SEC. In the Big 12, realistically, I guess, you've got, I don't know, your Oklahoma States, your Kansas States. They picked up some Pac-12 schools. I want to say it was at Arizona State. There was so much moving around. It was just kind of hard to keep up with all of it. So the Big 12 is just kind of this lesser conference. Anyway, I say all that to say that the SEC is exactly that. It is just under the NFL in terms of what it is, and so would the Big Ten.
Yeah, and I know this is off the topic a little bit, but you kind of wonder, will the SEC, especially if they pick off a couple more schools, I've heard people talking North Carolina wants into the SEC. I'm sure Florida State, after beating Alabama this last weekend, would want into the SEC.
Well, Florida State's wanted in the SEC for a long time.
Okay, well,
but the problem is media rights.
So media rights.
Media rights.
Media rights. I thought you
media rights.
It's like media rights.
Yeah. So Florida State wanted to leave. I believe that North Carolina wanted to leave. NC State wanted to leave. Who was the other one? One other one wanted to leave. I don't think Clemson was necessarily itching to get out of there because Clemson, their road to the playoff is a lot easier going through the ACC. But with Florida State, they actually filed. They were trying to leave the conference, but they had signed this deal several years ago, maybe in 2020. I can't remember exactly when. That if they leave the conference before, I think it's 2036. Maybe if somebody's watching this, you can correct me in the comments here. But if they leave the conference in the next 10 years, they have to give up all their media rights. So no conference, the SEC is not going to want Florida State.
They want to make that money
unless they can get Florida State's TVs. Yeah. Right.
Well, the reason I brought that up is just because I'm thinking at some point does the SEC just break off from the NCAA entirely and just become their own thing?
They sort of done that. They have sort of done that a little bit in the in football. That the commissioners of the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, ACC, and then freaking Notre Dame, their athletic director, because Notre Dame won't join a conference. those people, I'm not even going to throw a Notre Dame in there. I'm going to say the commissioners of those leagues are the big dogs on the block. And let's be honest, it's Greg Sankey, who is the commissioner of the SEC, and then the commissioner of the Big Ten. His name's not coming to mind right now. But those are the two that control it. The NCAA still controls basketball, right? March Madness is the number one moneymaker, but the college football playoff is right behind it. I haven't seen updated numbers. With the expansion of the college football playoff, it actually may surpass March Madness. But March Madness is by far the best athletic event in terms of money making, in the collegiate ranks. NCAA still controls it, but the SEC and all of that stuff being members of the NCAA, there's like, okay, well, we'll stay in the NCAA, but we're going to control things.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, we're going to leave.
Yeah.
And so they had talked about leaving as football, but the NCAA does not run football.
Right.
The commissioners of the leagues, and specifically the commissioner of the SEC and the Big Ten, run football.
Okay, so we'll say all that to say
this is a big game.
This is a big game for the state of Arkansas.
Yeah,
they're
it'll be
meeting.
packed.
They're meeting in between in the center of the state. They're meeting in Little Rock.
Yep.
And this is what's so funny. This was one of the popular tweets from Sicko's committee. Says they've been playing football for over a combined 200 years, but they've never played each other until this week. Arkansas versus Arkansas State at War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock, which is I'm glad it's being played in Little Rock. Don't get me wrong. As an A-State fan, I'm glad. But that stadium is just horrendous.
It used to be the premier stadium in the state of Arkansas 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Little Rock was much nicer than Fayetteville. Right now, Donald W. Randall Razorback Stadium.
70,000 people?
Yeah, 77,000, 78,000, but they put in all these boxes, these luxury boxes and all this stuff. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous football stadium. And, so it's far surpassed Little Rock. They've done some improvements to it, but it's,
And it holds, 50?
It actually less than that, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Here's what's interesting about it, though. If you look at Peyton Manning, oh, gosh, there's other people. But Peyton Manning might be the most one that people know. Said it's by far the loudest place that he's ever played.
Wow.
Even with half the people. And the reason is because it is a bowl, right? Most football stadiums are kind of a bowl, but it's a bowl with these concrete walls essentially up to the side here to an extent that he goes, and Mike Leach, a former, the late football coach for Mississippi State, he said it was by far the loudest. He goes, all it is a bowl that's like an echo chamber. And he goes like these 40, 50,000 people, whatever it is, sounds like 200,000 people.
Wow.
Because it's so loud. Well, that's what's going to be rocking this stadium come Saturday.
We'll
I know
see,
people outside of Arkansas don't care about this game, but this is freaking huge.
It's always been told it's
Arkansas.
never going to happen. And so, like, my dad, okay, he's probably watching right now. My dad, growing up, raised me to be an Arkansas State fan. And he told me, it will happen someday. This game will be played someday, but I will not be alive to see it. Assuming my dad makes it to Saturday, he will be alive to see it.
Is he going to go see it in Little Rock? Or
We're not. It's just the way that the maneuverability of the stadium and his age. We just kind of figure, hey, we're going to stay home and watch it on TV. Which I'm going to be. I'm just going to be there with my dad. Like that's who I want to watch the game with, because I literally thought it would never happen as well in his lifetime. But this is what's so funny. This is this account here, talks about sports, all college football fans. It's got 149,000, and so you wouldn't believe the reaction to this nationally of how many people had no idea that these two teams have never played. And that's what's so funny. You're looking at the stats, largest margin of victory. It's all NA because there's never been recorded.
Here's the interesting thing, too. There is no second game scheduled.
That's correct.
This might be the one and only meeting.
I have a feeling, first of all, if for some reason Arkansas State, which is picked to lose, right, I think probably by 3 touchdowns. But if for some reason Arkansas State wins this game, I would expect another game to be scheduled.
I don't think Arkansas would want to because...
I think they would, because they would never... They would almost have to schedule it, wouldn't they, Rob? They're never going to hear the end of it. So, they'll build a statue of Butch Jones. It doesn't matter... You don't... Like, if it doesn't matter what... But what Butch Jones does, the head coach of the Red Wolves, for the rest of his tenure at Arkansas
Yeah.
State, if he wins this game,
beats Arkansas
there will
Saturday.
be a statue put
Okay.
outside the football stadium because of the victory.
You've heard it here first, folks.
It will 100% happen.
Paul Harrell of the Paul Harrell program says that if Arkansas State beats the Arkansas Razorbacks this weekend, Butch Jones, who is the current coach of the Red Wolves, is going to have a statue erected
100%.
at Centennial Bank Stadium
100%.
here in Jonesboro.
Book it. It will happen.
It's going to be interesting to see if that happens. I can tell you this is the other thing for people outside of Arkansas who do not realize what's happening here. Sam Pittman, who is the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks, is on somewhat of a hot seat. Now, if he gets 3 or 4 wins this year, doesn't make a bowl game, he's probably out of a job. Okay, this is his 6th season. We've had some regression here, all of this stuff. But I can tell you this. I could see an opportunity. I could see a thing where if Sam Pittman loses this game, dude doesn't have a job the next day.
Really?
Yeah. I think Sam Pittman could be, if he's not fired immediately after this game, I could see if it's a bad loss or something like that, like Butch Jones just comes into Little Rock and just runs over him. You know, Butch Jones has got a pretty high-powered offense. Now, Bobby Petrino, who is our offensive coordinator at Arkansas, at the University of Arkansas, is pretty darn good at offense.
I think he knows
as well.
a little bit about
He knows
offense,
a little thing
yeah.
or two about it. But he's not. His guys aren't playing defense. And if Butch Jones comes in and just destroys the Razorbacks, I mean, we might have another situation here where, like Lane Kiffin, who was fired on the tarmac, or another Jack Crow situation after he lost to the Citadel.
Yeah.
That's right. One of the Arkansas Razorback coaches lost to the Citadel. Do you know where the Citadel is? I've heard that a million times. I still don't know where the Citadel is, and what a name for a college, right? He was fired immediately after that game, and then that's what led to a resurgence for the Razorbacks. But man,
Well, let me get your take on it,
interesting.
Rob. Do you think that the game should have been played a long time ago? I mean,
sure.
I know we can say, from their standpoint, they have nothing to lose or gain and everything to lose.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on. When you look at every other state, LSU takes a turn with their other Louisiana schools. Mississippi has the Egg Bowl. And I just don't – I don't it's puzzling to me. And if you go read the replies to that tweet, you wouldn't believe how many people are like, this should be criminal that the game has never happened.
Yeah, because they're both Division I teams. It's the only 2 Division I teams in the state of Arkansas, right? So you've got all of these opportunities where this game probably should have been played. I mean, if this game was happening 20 years ago, Arkansas would have slaughtered
This is
Arkansas
right,
State.
because we had a dark age of the 90s.
That's right. In 90s and in the 2000s until a little old offensive coordinator named Hugh Freeze comes to town and becomes the offensive coordinator under Steve Roberts, and all of a sudden, boom, their offense is able to move. Now, they still couldn't stop anybody, so Steve Roberts resigns at the end of that year. Hugh Freeze gets the job. Boom, they have their first 10-win season, after that. Hugh Freeze goes on to Ole Miss. Guess who followed Hugh Freeze? Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn leaves, goes to Auburn, and then we start getting a few other coaches here. We had
Brian Harsin.
Brian Harsin.
Who washed out of Auburn after he left and went to Boise.
And then Boise State, right? And then we had, married one of my friends after his first wife died.
Anderson, Blake Anderson.
Blake Anderson, thank you. His first wife passed away of cancer, and then several years later he actually ended up marrying one of my friends. But he's coaching again. And anyway, regardless, there was plenty of opportunity for Arkansas State, who had great teams. Arkansas State had a great team with Hugh Freeze. That was about the year that Bobby Petrino was ranked number 3 in the country.
I remember
the Razorbacks.
that. Yeah, and then the whole motorcycle thing.
Yeah, that would have been so fun to see a Hugh Freeze team undermatched go against a Bobby Petrino team. That would have been it would have been exciting.
I don't know, man. I think it would have been I think we would. Let me say this: if that game had happened, I would not like the chances that we have, or when I say we, I'm talking about A-State has this weekend. I think
You think they got more of a chance right now?
I do. Yeah. I mean,
Are you calling for the upset, Paul?
I'm not calling for the upset, but
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of unknowns from both teams because of the portal. This is the other thing, right? The portal. You have a bunch of players that leave both teams.
Sure.
I think more from Arkansas. I mean, everything I've read says that Arkansas kind of has a brand new roster in a lot of
Almost
respects.
all college teams do.
Yeah.
Like the whole playing 4 years for the same school is gone. To
I
the
know
wayside.
it's that's really sad to me. In a lot of ways, like I said, just it's going to become a semi-professional league now that you can pay the players. But I saw somebody say, maybe it was on TikTok, I saw somebody say we're about to see the biggest, now that you can legally pay players, we're now going to see the biggest scandals in college football history.
We're already seeing it because what you're finding out is that if a player is, let's say that they're making NIL money, which stands for name, image, and likeness, it's just a way of paying. The way when it was originally created, it was, hey, if I own a car dealership and I want to hire an Arkansas State Red Wolves quarterback or wide receiver, somebody with a name, right, like a skill position, if I want to hire him to do a commercial for my car dealership, I should be able to pay him, and that they should be able to cash in on their name, their image, and their likeness. Right, that's how it was created. Well, then what they did was they formed these collectives, football collectives, and what that was is you could donate to that collective, and you could pay that player for their name, image, and likeness. But essentially, all it is just a slush funnel so that these players can receive money. Do you know who the highest paid player in NCAA is right now, and how much he makes? You take a guess.
Hang on. I think my father-in-law was talking about this. Is it the Manning boy in Texas?
It is
the Manning boy.
Arch Manning. Do you know how much he makes per year as a college quarterback who just took over the team? So he just took over the team as the number one starter. He started a couple of games last year when there were some injuries to what's his name, whatever. Regardless, the previous quarterback. And so he's only got one game under his belt as a starter.
And he lost.
He looked terrible.
State. Yeah,
Ohio State. Of course, I'm going to give Ohio State credit. If you watch that was the most stifling defense.
Yeah.
Ohio State was shutting him down. There was nothing he could do about it.
All right,
anyway.
let me guess.
Okay, throw it out.
I bet he makes $10 million a year.
Nope, not that much. $6.5 million.
Okay, so
somewhere around there, 6.7 million, somewhere around in there. He's number one. But a good, like a starting quarterback in a big-time SEC, big-time Big Ten, somewhere out there, a minimum of $1 million, $1.5 million a year. That's what they're going to be making versus what they used to make, where which was basically a stipend, and there were football players who were on food stamps because they could not feed themselves. There were honestly, the number one changing factor for it was a player for UConn for basketball. When he came on there and everybody was just talking about, like, man, what does it feel like? You just took your team to the national championship, and he's being interviewed, and you think about this like, it feels so great, we've worked hard, all this stuff, and he's like, I wish they'd changed the fact that we go to bed hungry because we're only allowed 2 meals a day. By NCAA regulations, we're not allowed to eat a third meal, and we're making all these millions of dollars for the NCAA. Like, bravo! I wish I could remember who that kid's name was. Like, bravo to him, because he's the one that put the spotlight on it. Like, dude, this is at UConn basketball. That is one of the top premier basketball schools, and they can't even get a third meal as an athlete. But yet they can't go out and get jobs because they can't be. Because of the impropriety, you could be giving them money under the table and all of this stuff.
Well, back in the olden day, you'd go down for a trip to let's just throw Auburn out there.
Sure.
You go down for a trip, and one of the boosters is like, "Hey,
I
really like those sneakers you're wearing. Why don't you put them on eBay?"
Yeah.
And then you end up, $10,000 later.
Or just the simple little $500 handshakes.
or something like that. So So, but I get that. I get the issue. Like, there's a lot of people that have said, the Supreme Court, when they made that decision about being able to pay players, that it needed to happen. But then at the same time, I think what we're going to see I think we're seeing it just not. It's no longer college, and maybe the issue was, Rob, like they had an argument. Like, you've got billions of dollars being generated, billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And the players aren't getting any. It was only a matter of time before they're going to say, this is just not fair. This is not. So maybe the issue was the billions of dollars in the first place. Like, we're talking about institutions that are supposed to be there for education, right? And yet we've made it all about sports. And I love it. Like, I like to sit down and watch a good college football game. I'm not going to deny that. I like the pageantry. I like it all. It's very Americana. And yet, you do kind of have to think, is this really about education? So.
Well, I think it also changed with the transfer rule. So the transfer rule said that you had to sit out. If you transferred from one institution to another, you had to sit out 1 year unless there was some sort of extenuating circumstance. So sometimes you could get an override, and it was really hard to get an override. So, but with that transfer, you could transfer and be immediately eligible to play. Well, I just watched on it was on TikTok. I guess it was a video of a guy that he is in his 5th season. Okay, so he got a medical red shirt 1 year, but he's in his 5th season. He is playing for his 6th team. So
wow,
5 seasons, 6 teams. And it's like, how is that even freaking possible? And it's right, because he transferred in the middle of a season. And he was able to do that, and I was like, "How is that even? That's basically free agency, So it's that all that combined with NIL changed everything, because basically you go in, you're making. They say they give you $50,000 a year, right?
Right.
They give you $50,000. You go in and you blow up. You have this incredible season. So you go to try to renegotiate your NIL. And you say, hey, I want $250,000, and they're like, no, we'll give you $100,000. Well, then he puts his name in the transfer portal, and all of a sudden he's got somebody offering him $500,000 a year because he had such a great year, right? So you don't even care about that college.
No, not at all.
You don't care about the college. You don't care about the coach. You don't care about any of that stuff. You're just going to go to that school because that's how much money you're going to make. Because
well, it's exactly what coaches have been doing.
Well, that's what they've been doing for sure. But if you go just basically when you think about this, if you go to, like, hey, are you going to make it to the NFL? Such a small percentage of college football players make it to the NFL. So they got to make all the money that they can make. And the head coach of the Razorback basketball team, John Calipari, I know I'm just rambling on here, but I'm just talking about all the sports stuff. John Calipari said a very, very important thing that we're not thinking about with this NIL money. And he goes, imagine you're a 4-year starter for a basketball or football team. You've made $500,000 per year or $1 million per year. And then you graduate. And now that money's gone. You've not been able to, you didn't make it in the pros, whatever. But you've got this degree that pays you $65,000 a year. He's like, these students are going to struggle to step down from $1 million a year to $65,000 a year.
Yep.
He's like, we're creating an epidemic here of these individuals where the reality of the real world is not where we're at.
That's a good point.
So
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
What do you think of this? I threw this up on the screen.
I love
it. From rabid Razorback fans. Just remember, you asked for this, little bro.
Yeah.
It could be bad,
I mean, honestly, if it's what the Vegas says, then yeah. I mean, then that meme is correct. But if it's not.
Well, I will say this, and I don't know, again, this is just anecdotal, but it seems like, there's a lot of times where, let's just take Mississippi State and Ole Miss, for example, and I've seen this both ways. One is clearly better than the other in the season. It hadn't happened with Mississippi State in a while.
Yeah.
But the other one, when they meet at the end of the year, that Egg Bowl,
the records.
The underdog, for whatever reason, plays like it's the Super Bowl and plays up to the competition.
Sure. I've seen a one-loss team going against a one-loss Alabama going against a 6-loss Auburn.
Auburn, yeah.
And to go into the Egg Bowl, or I'm sorry, the Iron Bowl. They go into this Iron Bowl, and Auburn goes in there and beats them.
Yeah.
And it's because it's a rivalry. They say you can throw the records out.
And this is a rivalry that if you're an Arkansas fan, if you're a Razorback fan, it doesn't exist really.
It doesn't. It can't be a rivalry if they've never played.
They've never played, but for Arkansas State, it very much is.
Oh yeah, Arkansas State's the one that wants.
You can go back to Frank. You can go back to Keith. I think it was Keith Lee in the basketball days, where Keith Lee was coming to Arkansas State to play basketball, and the Razorbacks wanted him, and so they sent him a letter claiming that, I'm sorry you're doing this, but Arkansas State's violated some recruiting rules, and we're going to be calling the authorities, and you're not going to get to play. And so he bailed, and he went. I don't know where he ended up going.
Yeah.
And so there's these.
But
little,
they're like, if we can't have them,
it's exactly
no one
what
can.
happened. And this was there's been these little these little usurpations that have happened. If you're an Arkansas State fan, if you're a Razorback fan, you don't care because it's little brother, and who cares?
Yeah.
I got this sent to me by a guy named Barry Sellers just now.
Okay.
While we were on air, he's obviously
listening.
listening to the show. He said, here are some historical facts. A-State was little more than a Votech high school when the doors opened.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be a college. Troy Martin was one of the first of us. He was in the first class on the first football and baseball teams and was on the committee that picked scarlet and black as the school colors. If he were still with us today, he would share his pride in the Aggie School. After he graduated State Agricultural School, he enrolled in the University of Illinois, expecting to be a freshman. After reviewing his transcript and asking about his classes, he was admitted to as a junior in recognition of level of his work done at the Aggie School. During World War I, A-State hired extra faculty and expanded class, offering to participate in a training program, only 2 or 4 year colleges. While the U.S. Army recognized A-State as a junior college in 1917, the state of Arkansas withheld formal recognition of that status until 1925. So usurpation, little abuse, number 2. The regional accrediting body gave A-State conditional approval to award 4-year degrees, and the first was awarded in 1931. 2 years later, the legislature renamed the school Arkansas State College, recognizing it as a 4-year college 8 years after the North Central Association said A-State was up to snuff to be a 4-year college. A-State grew from less than 900 students in 1951 to over 3,000 a decade later. A-State began pushing to rename itself Arkansas State University in 1955. It took 4 years to convince the legislature to introduce a bill to change the name. The University of Arkansas announced its opposition, and the bill was defeated. It wasn't until 1967 that the name change was approved. A-State had to fight the opposition for 12 years. Once that change was approved, the tune from Fayetteville changed. Suddenly, bills to allow other schools in the state to change their name flew through the legislature. After 1981 season, the NCAA voted to change the rules for
Oh,
one.
Lord, you're not going to read all this.
All right, I'm not reading all of it. Okay, anyway, my point is, I read that part just to say, like, and by the way, that's a scalp. The original, you can't see it on the can. Anyway, all I'm saying is, Rob, the rivalry exists from this neck of the woods because of stuff like that. There's going to be people at the game that remember this and they lived it. They may be old, but they remember this opposition to not wanting us to be a university at all.
You can't even change your name to be a university.
Yeah. So that, and there's more out there than just that. But that's why this game kind of means something.
It does.
And anyway.
Yeah, it may not mean anything to anyone outside of Arkansas, but it is a huge deal here. So we're all going to be glued to the TV screens or the bleachers, wherever your case may be, on Saturday.
All right. So, are you going with Vegas on this? You think the Hogs are going to take care of business pretty easily?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why they're not. Now, I believe Arkansas State can score some points, and I believe that they will because our defense is suspect. I say our because I'm a Razorback.
So
fan.
You're pulling for the Hogs. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm pulling for the Hogs, and the reason
And where did you go to school?
I graduated from Arkansas State University.
See, that's anathema.
Yeah,
Man. Come on.
I have a degree from there. But I can tell you this: I didn't even really know. I mean, I knew Arkansas State University. I didn't grow up in Jonesboro,
right?
So I knew that it existed for sure. You know, I thought that, I mean, I knew that it existed. It was a deal. It's a big deal. But I was watching the Razorbacks on Saturdays. I was listening to the radio and listening to the Razorbacks, and grew up a huge Arkansas Razorback basketball fan in the 90s.
Of course,
right?
where they had the national championship.
They were so good. And even without the national championship, they made it back to the Final Four the next
they did.
year.
Yeah.
They were so
Corliss
good.
Williamson was a lot of fun to
It was
watch.
phenomenal. I mean, a lot of these players went on to play in the NBA and all of that. So I just grew up this Razorback fan. Houston Nutt, the ups and downs of him being the coach. He was a great coach, great motivator, all of that. And I did not even go to my first Arkansas State University football game until I was like a sophomore in college here.
Yeah.
Well,
and there's a lot of reasons for that,
right,
too.
and
it
it's
had
just
to do with not having winning teams. So
well, there'd be a couple thousand people in the stands. I mean,
right.
it was like
totally different atmosphere. But let me ask you this:
okay,
if do you think there's any Razorback fans out there that might prefer, if they're not Sam Pittman fans and they want to get to the next coach, because there's talk of John Gruden maybe becoming the University of Arkansas. So do you think there may be any Arkansas Razorback fans that are like, you know what, it would help the program long term to just go ahead and take an L?
Well, as much as you would want to root for that, like if you want to try to say, hey, I feel like the Sam Pittman experiment has gone by the wayside, like, are you really cheering against your team? And the only time I will say this, I am at this point cheering against the St. Louis Cardinals because they're not going to make the playoffs, and we need the coach of the St. Louis Cardinals, Ollie Marmol, to be fired. Like, honestly, I wish he'd be fired right now. But like that needs to happen, and there needs to be a revamp of the roster. So, although I'm a Cardinals fan, I am like, it's not breaking my heart when they lose.
It's conceivable, though. What you're
it's
saying
conceivable.
is it's like there may be a Hawk fan out there.
But if there's a Razorback game on and a Cardinals game on at the same time, I'm always 100% always watching the Razorback game.
Well,
now that doesn't mean that I'm not a fan of the Cardinals. I'm just saying that they are.
I got you.
Live and breathe. So there's a meme that just says it's welcome to fall, where I'm going to let a bunch of 18 and 22 year olds determine my mood for the week. And so my wife Kara has just said, she's like, I will say a little prayer that the Razorbacks win because I want you to not be in a mood for the rest of the weekend.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm going to be fine regardless. Maybe that's because we've got nothing to lose.
I'm
here.
rooting against you. I hope you fail miserably. I'm going to be texting like, how'd you like that one,
that's
Paul?
fine. That's fine. You do that.
Now,
obviously,
but here's the thing.
I'm pulling for the team that I've pulled, and anybody that knows me and grew up with me, they know exactly. I've always asked the question. I don't understand why they don't play, and it's been 100 years, and it's crazy.
Let me clarify this, Paul. Let me clarify this. If the Red Wolves win, I'm not going to be like heartbroken. Like there's going to be a certain amount of pride.
You know why? Well, because number one, you're from the area, but number two, if they win, I mean, it will have been something.
It's a huge thing,
spectacularly historic.
Yeah.
So
and our local community will be on cloud nine. So,
and again, mark it down.
Yeah,
they'll put a statue of Butch Jones. I promise you. It doesn't matter if he loses every game the rest of the year.
We go.
I'm serious. There will be a statue of Butch Jones.
I think
he pulls off the upset.
It'll be erected on Monday. Basically, like they'll commission it Saturday night. Say, hey, you've got till Monday morning.
All right.
Well, let's talk about the news of the day.
Okay. So we spent a long time on this. So
way more than probably what we wanted to.
This is what the thumbnail says, and so we wanted to do it justice.
It's a big deal.
We got called out the other day because I had a thumbnail on there where we didn't even talk about the topic at all because we got sidetracked.
Somebody called us out on it?
Somebody did, and they said this was clickbait, and I was like, hey, I'm sorry. It was an honest mistake. We planned to talk about the truck going down the bridge the wrong way, but I think some other breaking news thing happened, and we didn't get to it.
And I'm glad that almost glad that we didn't talk about that because we were reading the first reports about who it was, and it turned out to be a 75-year-old, Vietnam veteran who was having a mental issue, at that point.
Right.
So, anyway.
Okay, so let's get to it. Epstein is back in the news. Donald Trump was asked at the White House today, hey, is the reason that, basically, are there any friends or Republican donors that are on the Epstein list, and that's why we don't have full transparency? And Donald Trump basically doubled down with the same position.
Mr. President, right now, there have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. And Thomas Massey, who is sponsoring a discharge position to get the House to vote on releasing those documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow-walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir? So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. Even if you look at D.C. right now.
Okay, so I do agree with what he's saying there in that so if you're a Democrat, and the economy is going really, really well, we're seeing massive new trade deals that are gonna positively affect,
maybe even get rid of the income tax.
Correct. Yes. Prices coming down, gas being way lower than when Biden was the president. We're seeing so much positive momentum happening. Right. Record high stock markets. Your 401k is looking good. You have nothing to rip on this man about. You can say, "Oh, well, you're ICE and all of this stuff," but you're like, "Okay, well, the American
people agree with that stuff,
right?" And you're also recovering children who are being sex trafficked.
That's correct.
And you're just like, you're sending these troops in there. It's a military presence. Okay, well, crime has dropped by 80%, and it's like,
Tough
okay,
to argue with
what can you complain about? You can only say he's not releasing it because he's a pedo. He's on the list and he's a pedo.
But
that's the only reason.
But he's clearly not, or we would have known a long time ago.
I argue with people all the time in the comments about stuff, and they're just trying to say, well, the reason that he's not releasing this is because he's on the list. And I'm like, you mean to tell me that the Biden administration was in possession of this list and they chose not to release it, even though they did everything, including trying to kill him?
I'll raise you this last refuge tweet that says, if an Epstein story was a threat to Trump, do you really think Clinton would have exhausted so much energy on fabricating Russia?
No need to.
I mean, now we know that it was all made up.
You don't need to at that point.
No,
right?
You would have just taken him out like that. So it's not logical to think that. Now, is it logical that somebody has gotten in Donald Trump's ear and has said, if you do this, not only is it our donors, I mean, we're talking about the entire government not being able to function because so many people are implicated in this. I mean, that very much could be the case. I don't agree with that if that's the case. I still don't agree with it.
Here's what I think. He's not going to extinguish this flame by calling it a hoax like he's done in the past.
It's not going anywhere.
This is not going anywhere. And so I want to say to Democrats a couple of things. He's not on that list as in having ever gone to that island and slept with these underage teenage girls. Whatever. He's not on that. Does not exist, because if the proof of that existed, the Democrats would have used it when they literally did everything. We're trying to take him off the ballots and screaming about he's a threat to democracy. Okay, 17 states try to take him off the ballot.
The most persecuted political figure in American history.
You want to tell me that you're the protector of democracy when you are trying to remove the candidate who wound up winning, so half the country was going to vote for him? You're trying to, well, we know that people are going to vote for him, so we're going to remove him from the ballot. But we're the threat to democracy. You indicted him over all these BS things that are actually going to get overturned and already started to get overturned for all of this stuff, and we're the threat to democracy. So you did all of that, Democrats. But you had the ultimate 100% foolproof smoking gun in your possession, and you chose not to use it?
Yeah, it's insane. So
how naive are you if you believe that crap?
Robbie Starbuck, they just hate him so much.
No.
They're just blinded. That's why, Rob.
And the media's telling them.
But Starbuck says that this should be Donald Trump's new response. When he gets a question about Epstein, he said he should say, "Our hearts are with the victims of Epstein, and I've directed my administration to hand over everything they legally can hand over. I'm afraid with the Biden administration's misconduct, we'll never know what files are missing or tampered with." That's a big problem.
Which is the truth.
Huge problem, but we will give everything we can to produce the transparency Democrats refused to give the people when Biden was in office. We've already released most of what they, more than what they ever did. By the way, if I had anything to do with this filth, we all know Biden would have released it. We all know that. I had nothing to do with this. Ask the people why they didn't release anything. Media won't ask that, and I think we all know why. I also won't let the Democrats and their media puppets distract us from the great progress we're making on so many fronts in ending wars, closing the Democrats' open border, fighting crime in Democrat cities, and building a great economy.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I don't understand why.
Copy and paste that on the truth.
Yeah, he even said he tried to write it the way Trump speaks.
Yeah.
I think he actually did a very good job there. But yeah, this is just, come on. I said this from the beginning in January. I said, look, if they need to go where the facts lead. If Russia collusion hoax leads to Republicans, if
burn it down.
Burn it down. If Epstein does, do it. I mean, that would be the greatest thing you could do to get people to vote for Republicans in the midterms, is to restore our confidence by saying, oh, there is a uniparty, and if you did something, if you were a part of this color revolution over the last 10 years, which is the Russia collusion hoax, the 2020 election, J6, COVID in general, if you were a part of that, and a lot of the same players are, you're going down, that would restore so much confidence that this is a nonpartisan thing. And so people are going to come to the conclusion that it's not with this Epstein thing, and I think they already are. That question that Trump got there, I feel like it kind of unnerved him. Like,
he didn't like it. He's tired of talking about it, but at the same time, I agree with Robbie because I just said it. This is not going to go away. He needs a better response, and calling it a hoax is not it.
Yeah, so there was a Democrat attorney. Now, okay, I'm going to play this real quick as we wind things down. This is an Epstein victim's lawyer dropped a bombshell claiming that Trump has been secretly helping to take down Jeffrey Epstein since 2009. I don't necessarily know if that's his editorial, Shadow Ezra editorial of this. But this press conference, while it was interesting and while they're promising to release their own list of the clients, which I think is great, Matt Walsh is giving us caution, saying that Gloria Allred was at the Epstein press conference, and he says that officially delegitimizes the whole thing because you can't trust Gloria Allred because she's kind of she's just been a habitual
and she's just
pot stirrer, and she's not trustworthy.
She's an attention whore in terms of, like, she's going to go where the big name case is and align herself.
Fight all men or whatever. Yeah. But at that press conference, this was an interesting exchange.
Thank you all for being here.
I'll go first and then I'll let them. They're much more important than me, but I don't understand why it's a hostile act. I can tell you that I talked to President Trump back in 2009, and several times after that. He didn't think that it was a hoax then. In fact, he helped me. He got on the phone. He told me things that were helping our investigation. Now, our investigation wasn't looking into him, but he was helping us then. He didn't treat this as a hoax. So at this point in time, I would hope that he would revert back to what he was saying to get elected, which is, I want transparency. This about face that occurred, none of us understand it. In fact, I don't understand how this is an issue that's even up for debate. How do you not stand behind these women after you've heard their stories and know that hundreds of them were abused, and it was only
such a losing issue with his current position?
And I really hope Trump sees that video right there.
I agree, because they're giving him credit. He exposed Epstein to the New Yorker magazine in like 2002.
This guy talked about. Remember, he said Trump was one of the few people who would actually answer questions about Epstein.
Exactly. And so, if Trump needs to come out and just say, "Hey, look, the documents have been tampered with." That's what he obviously believes. He believes this was just like, that's why he compared it to Russia collusion. What do we know about Russia collusion? Obama ordered a fake intel assessment. Yeah. So somewhere around, they've put a poison pill in somewhere around there, even though we've got all these victims that say, Trump didn't do anything to me.
Right. Well, and I want to clarify, just to reiterate this point that we made several weeks ago, just because your name appears in the Epstein files does not mean you were a participant in pedophilia. that you were a participant in in sex trafficking. Larry Kudlow is a great example. He was an attorney. He's a liberal attorney, but he's a contributor for Fox News. So it's real. I feel like he's being red pilled every single day, and he was in the Epstein files. He filed for the lawsuit for discovery.
Was it Kudlow or Dershowitz?
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got to get confused.
Sorry,
Alan
I was like,
Dershowitz.
because Kudlow was news to me. I was like, he's talking about Dershowitz.
No, Alan Dershowitz. I am so sorry about that. Please correct me. But Dershowitz was allegedly in these files, right? And he just said, nope, I'm clearing my name. And he fought it tooth and nail. And he wanted that discovery. He got the discovery. And he said, I know the names. Okay. And
I wonder why he won't divulge the names.
Well, I think there's a lot of that is for fear of divulging a name. You divulge a name that leads to a victim.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, I guess I'm so impatient with all this as well. Like, the victim's press conference is great, but the victims come out, and one of the victims says, we've decided we're going to get together and we're going to release the names. And I'm like, you got a microphone in front of your hand.
Do it right now.
Do it right now. Come on. Like, what are we waiting for?
Do it right now. Do it now.
So
that's what I would say.
Yeah. All right, folks.
Okay.
You got anything else, Rob?
No, just I think that Trump's got to readdress how he handles this.
I agree. He's getting bad advice, and he may have been told, hey, look, I just I don't know. The whole governmental collapse or entire nation states potentially collapse because of this. I mean, that's a possibility too. I want to remind everybody to go to paultalkshow.substack.com. That's paultalkshow.substack.com. If you want to become a paid subscriber to what we're doing here, you'll get a free copy of Left Wing Will and the Red Pill. You see, hey, Rob, Rob's got it right there.
I feel like one of the
Price is Right.
Price is Right. Like, look at what they're going to win.
Dun, 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 dun.
So, again, if you're seeing this for the first time, this is a game that's very similar to Cards Against Humanity or Apples to Apples there. You've got to put down your funny suggestions.
All right, folks, that's all the time that we have for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. God bless, and go Red Wolves.